Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. My name's Brad McMullen. I am the Folklife Specialist here at the Nevada Arts Council, and I'm here to chat about our fiscal year 25 Folklife grants. There's two different grants I oversee for the Nevada Arts Council. We've got the Folklife Artist Grant and Folklife Community Grant. If you've been to any of the other grant information sessions, this one's going to be a little different simply because we're covering two grants. But I'll get started. Just to start with, if at any point you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me, Brad McMullen, as well as our lovely grants team, Stephanie Montgomery and Krista Ficken. We're able to help you with any questions you've got about Folklife grants or any of the other grants we offer at the Nevada Arts Council. Just to start with, this session, we are looking at, like I said, fiscal year 25. As a note, our fiscal year operates from July 1st through June 30th. So that means fiscal year 25, these are grants for projects occurring between July 1st, 2024, this year, and June 30th, 2025. So we say fiscal year 25, that can be for events happening in 2024. When we get to next year, fiscal year 26, that'll be events happening in 2025 as well. Just so you know roughly when to apply for what. So, like I mentioned, we've got two different Folklife grants. There's the Folklife Artist Grant and the Folklife Community Grant. I'll talk a little bit about the differences between them, but some of the similarities. The applications for both are due 30 days before your event. Both grants are evaluated on a rolling basis. So they're unlike other grants the Arts Council offers, there's no set due date. You need to have everything in by. It goes on throughout the year until we run out of the allocated funding for the grants in question. That said, it's due 30 days before the event. If you can get it in earlier, fantastic. Gives us more time, gives us a chance to help promote your event, gives us a chance to do everything and make sure everything's all set to go. Same time, don't feel like you need to wait to reach out with questions. If you had a question, if you got an idea, please reach out, talk to me. I'm always happy to chat. Both grants award up to $3,000. There is no match required for that. They are for folk and traditional arts projects taking place between July 1st, 2024 and June 30th, 2025. And both grants need pre-clearance from me, the Folklife Specialist. So when I say reach out, that's not really a suggestion. That is part of the process. You're going to reach out to me, talk about your project. I can help you shape it, help give you ideas, and make sure it's a good fit for the Folklife grants. After that, you'll be able to go in and actually submit the stuff, and then it'll be reviewed by the grants team, reviewed by me, and then we'll get back to you with an answer about the award. For the Folklife Artist Grant. So the Folklife Artist Grant is intended for an individual teacher or group teacher to do some kind of teaching project in their tradition, their traditional art, and their folk art. The eligibility requirements for the Folklife Artist Grant are the applicant needs to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. They have to have been a Nevada resident for 1 year. They have to be 21 years or older, and they cannot be a degree-seeking student. Additionally, it does have to be the master artist who is applying. It has to be the teacher. And the project has to include 20 hours of work by the participating artists. Now, the participating artist is not just the master artist. If you're doing a group thing, you just need to have one artist who's applying as the applicant, and they'll receive the funds and be responsible for it. Because if you're coming to Nevada from other states, if you're familiar with folk arts programming, most states have what's called the traditional artist apprenticeship program or some variant of that. Our grant is a variant of that. It's intended to make it a little more easy for group classes. It doesn't have to just be one master artist teaching one apprentice. It can be master artist working with a group projects. As you can see from this picture of a panel skirt workshop for burlesque, it was a group class teaching how to make these skirts for burlesque performances, which is one of our lovely folk arts we have here in Nevada. The other grant is the Folklife Community Grant. So the Folklife Community Grant is intended for small nonprofit organizations who want to do folk and traditional arts programming. So eligibility for this one, you have to have federal tax exempt status under section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. One change this year is, unfortunately, we can't accept fiscal agents. So the organization itself does need to have that status. You can't work through another organization anymore due to a change in National Endowment for the Arts regulations that we have to comply with. Additionally, you must have active incorporation status with the Nevada Secretary of State, showing evidence of good standing at the time of the application. Basically, you need to be a Nevada organization. It can't be an organization from another state applying to do programming here in Nevada. It has to be a Nevada organization. You also have to have a UEI number with sam.gov. If you've got any questions about that, that's one where if you ask me, I'm just going to send you to Stephanie and Krista. They're the ones that have the information on that. The last requirement is your organization has to have cash income of less than $30,000 for the most recent fiscal year. As it exists right now, the grant is intended for small organizations getting started, wanting to do traditional arts programming. If your income's over than that, you are welcome, and I heavily encourage you to apply for one of the program grants for organizations. Erica did a webinar on that a couple weeks ago. You can find information on that on our website. You can find that webinar on our website if you've got questions there. For the Folklife Community Grant, that's intended for programs supporting the transmission of presentation of folk arts and cultural traditions. So that's things like festivals, things like cultural events, things like concerts, just other gatherings that are about a community coming together around traditional arts, around culture, around traditional culture, all these kinds of things. So for example, the Kizuna Japanese Spring Festival was a Folklife Community Grant recipient in 2019. It can be used to feature non-Nevadan artists. So say your community wants to bring in someone from California, from Utah, that's fine, but they still need to be an American citizen or permanent resident. Because the funds are coming from the National Endowment for the Art for this, it has to be used to pay American citizens or permanent residents. You can't be bringing people internationally for this grant, unfortunately. I'm going to take a minute to go show you where everything is on our website. So all the grant information is on our website at nvartscouncil.org. Go to grants, fiscal year 25 grant offerings. That's where you'll find all of the grants we offer. And scroll right down, you'll find the Folklife Artist Grant and the Folklife Community Grant right there. Under both of those, there are the guidelines. Pretty soon, we'll have up the questions and support materials so you can see that without going into the portal, as well as all of our grant policies. If you click on the guidelines, you can see basically what I just went over about the eligibility for each individual grant. If you need a refresher, all the details about the grant amount, the review process, and how to apply. We've got that for the artist grant, as well as the community grant. There is also the grant policies. This is just the general overview of what is and is not eligible. Any kind of general guidelines we have to operate as the state art agency for our funding to be given out. And then once you're ready to submit, there is the link at the bottom of each of the guidelines documents that will take you to Submittable. Submittable is where you apply for all of the grants. So you'll need to sign up, have a submittable account. Like I mentioned, part of the process, you need to talk to me first so that you can reach out via phone, you can reach out via email, any of that works. But once you submit the grant, it's a lot easier on our end because you're going to be talking to me still, you'll be talking to Stephanie, you'll be talking to Krista. Make sure it's an email that you check regularly, because once you have submitted, all the communications are going to be going through Submittable. It makes it easier for track. That way, no matter which of us you're talking to, we can all see the conversation and have an idea on who's been updated on what and where any questions or eligibility issues are at. It's the easiest way for us all to be on the same page about status. So sign up for Submittable, make sure it's an email you check and be checking it regularly. And then you'll just see we've got the fiscal year 25 Folklife Artist Grant and the fiscal year 25 Folklife Community Grant in Submittable for you to apply for. We've also got fiscal year 24 still up for both of those because that, like I said, it's rolling. So it's just going to keep going through until June 30th. And then we'll switch over to fiscal year 25. In order to apply, you just click this beautiful orange apply button, and it will ask you to log in because I did not do that before this webinar. And then you'll be able to see, once again, all the details. You'll be able to see all the questions. You'll have to say that you've read and understood the guidelines, that you've spoken to me, Brad McMullen. My contact information is, again, right there. You understand our grant policies, that you understand communication going forward will be through Submittable, and that the grant awards are contingent on available funding. Like I said, it's rolling. They provide me with a certain amount of funds, and I have those funds. And once they're out, unfortunately, I can't fund anymore. I don't know how much that is for the next year, so I cannot tell you yet. That said, then it's just going to ask for your information. We need your legal name because that's what's going to be on the check. That's what's going to be on the paperwork. We need the legal name in order to fully process everything. And then a preferred name, if there's another name you go by, if it's a group, what is the group name? Name you want actually used in reference to the grant when talking about it. We'll need your physical address, mailing address if that's different, as it often is. So physical address, if you're on a ranch, that's your ranch. Mailing address, your PO box back in town. Phone number, activity type. This is for the NEA, requires us to collect certain image information about the people we are granting to. So this is that. It's what is your activity? This is from the NEA. Select what you think fits best. If you have questions, please just reach out. Your institution, whether you're an individual artist, performing group, etc. Discipline, here it's going to be folk and traditional arts because this is the folk arts grant. But then it's going to ask you for a sub-discipline. Is this folk dance? Is it music? Is it a visual art? Is it oral traditions? Is it a storytelling project? You'll be able to select down there with specifically what kind of art it is. And then same project discipline, folk and traditional arts, because this is the Folklife grant. It's not Folklife. Go apply to someone else's grant. Questions for eligibility. You'll need to upload a driver's license or something to prove your age, as well as residency. If you recently moved within Nevada, you're still eligible. Your driver's license might not show that you've been at your address for 1 year. Upload the older driver's license alongside it or some other proof that you've been in Nevada for 1 year. Just attesting that the work plan, you meet all the eligibility guidelines. Then there's the different questions. Identify and describe the traditional art. What is the artistic discipline category? What's cultural community does this art form represent? How did you become a member of this cultural community? Why is that important to you? Who taught you the art form? How have you developed your skills and knowledge? Why is it important to pass on this traditional art to others in your family or community? We'll need a biography from you or resume, as well as some letters of support from your community. It just helps give us an idea of the community basis and why this art is important and why you are passionate about it and want to teach it. Then we'll want you to describe the project, whether it's a single apprentice or group of learners. If it's a single apprentice, it's going to open up a section a little bit later, but we'll want you to answer who is your apprentice, why have you chosen them? If it's a group, who is this group of people that you're teaching? Maybe it's open. That's fine. We just want to know a little bit about who the audience is for your project. We want to know specifically what skills are you teaching, what techniques, what knowledge is being passed on, and then what are your goals? Is it, you're doing a basket weaving apprenticeship and the goal is to produce 5 baskets? Are you teaching traditional songs and the goal is to have learned 3 songs? Just think of it as the curriculum. What are your goals? What are you hoping your apprentice or students will learn? And how will you measure success? There's a certain amount of, we're going to make 5 baskets. We made 5 baskets, but the skills learned, the skills developed, how is this helping your students grow? Whether it's you're taking beginners and helping them get there started, or you're taking someone who's done this for a while and helping them kind of become a master as well. We want that information to make sure that the grant is having impact. We need a timeline. Like I said, it's bounded in this July to June timeframe, just knowing when things are going to take place, where they're going to be, all that kind of information is useful for us, so we can document it and then send it back to the NEA because they ask us for all the same kind of information. Start date, end date. If it is a one-on-one apprentice, there's a section where your apprentice is going to have to answer some questions. So we'll want to know how long they've been practicing the art form, what their level of expertise is it, and what skills they've already mastered. We'll want to know why they want to learn about this art form and why it's important to them, and why they want to work with you, the master artist. What is exciting about working with you? Then similarly, discipline, bio. Then we'll need a budget. So we want to know the expenses associated with the project, as well as any additional income or in kind. The Arts Council funds, can only be used for artist fees. So paying you, the master artist, for your time. That is very important. Do not forget to pay yourself. Your art has value, and we want to make sure you are being compensated for your time, for your work, and for your expertise. Grant can also go for materials and supplies, and it can also go for transportation, especially here in Nevada, where it's a large state. If you need to travel, build in mileage to cover your travel to meet with your artist. Or if you need to go gather materials, build in a budget for cover your travel out to collect whatever you need to collect. You can see all the general funding restrictions in the grant policies. One I do have to call attention to is our funds can't be used to pay for food, which I was looking, we have funded foodways applications. It gets complicated. And this is part of why I ask you to talk to me first, so we can figure out what fits in the budget, what doesn't, all this kind of stuff, to make sure you're within guidelines, so that way we can fund you, because we want to be able to fund all our great traditional artists in the state of Nevada. So you'll put in the amount you're requesting, like I said, up to $3,000, what you're using the funds for. Then you'll need to put in the budget, any additional income that's coming in, This grant doesn't require a match. If you're just using this $3,000, that is totally fine. But if you are going over your budget, please put in how you're covering the rest of that. That's useful information for us to know to make sure this project is going to be successful, that it can be accomplished, all those kinds of things. If you need to provide any additional information, you can put that in this box here. And then after the grant, after your project, you are going to have to fill out a final report where we're going to need to see receipts and stuff like that for your budget. So just keep track of all those things while you're doing your project. And once again, if you have any questions or things shift a little bit, just please reach out to us and we can help you with that as you're going through it. At the end, if you want to upload any additional support materials, that's always great. Letters of support. If, say, you're using a venue for a bigger class and the museum, library, wherever you're doing it, it wants to write to talk about, oh yeah, we're going to donate the space. That's a great place to put that. If you're doing a bigger class that's going to be open to the public, providing examples of marketing material, that's great for me and for us to see, just to have a record of. The Folklife Community Grant, I'm not going to pull up and go through, but it's very similar. It just doesn't have the specific apprentice questions or who's learning, but has in its place some questions about who's the audience, what's the community. It's overall very similar. It's just who is applying. Is it an individual artist or an organization? And then just to close out, a couple comments about our other grant offerings here at the Nevada Arts Council for fiscal year 2025. If you're an organization, I mentioned earlier the program project grant for organizations. That one is already open. It closes March 1st. That one is $7,000, requires a cash or in-kind match. So please get in for that one if your project's going to be bigger or you're an organization over that $30,000 income line. There's also the Arts Learning Project Grant is $7,000. That one closes May 1st. That one is for a project specifically that is educational in nature, which frequently Folklife projects are. Folklife Community Grant, that's what I've been talking about. There's also the Arts Learning Express Grants. There's two different cycles of that. That one is specifically for nonprofit and public institutions to apply for, to do arts learning projects with artists on our the arts education roster. Then for individuals, if you're an individual artist, we've got the project grant for artists that has two cycles. The first one closes April 1st, and then the second one is for the second half of the year. That's $3,000, just like the Folk Arts Grant, but that doesn't necessarily have that learning component that the Folklife Grant does. So if you just want to be making a Folklife project without that educational component, that is something to consider for that grant. Sapira just did a webinar the other day that will also be on our website soon if you're interested in going for that one. There's also this year, we've got the Artist Fellowship Awards this year for the regular fellowships. It's visual arts. We are also adding back in the Folklife Heritage Fellowship. So that is those are both fellowships. They are awards of $5,000 recognizing artists. There's no project component. It is just to recognize the artists for doing their work in the state of Nevada to support the arts, recognizing their achievements and their work. Similarly, if you are on our teaching artist roster, you can apply for the Arts Learning Express grants directly and to work with organizations and institutions. There's some, I'll just leave this up. This is if you're applying and awarded for one grant, what else can you apply for? By and large, if you're getting the Folklife grant, you can't go for that, say another grant for that same project. If you have questions about how things overlap, the best thing to do is to reach out to Stephanie and Krista, and they are going to be able to help you out. And that's all I've got for this morning. I'll ask Stephanie and Krista if there's anything else you two want to add. But otherwise, thank you for watching. And if this wasn't useful, hopefully at least help put you to sleep.
I don't have anything to add, Brad. You did a fantastic job.